Out front tonight, Congressman Adam Schiff, the top Democrat on the Intelligence Committee. So, of course, that means he's slated to become the chairman of that committee in the next Congress. Great to have you with me, Congressman. I really appreciate your time. Do you think Whitaker's appointment is unconstitutional? Would you go that far?
You know, on balance, I think it probably is. I think the court, a neutral court, and I hope that's what we have, will find that it violates the requirement that a principal officer only be confirmed with the advice and consent of the Senate. There is a OLC, Office of Legal Counsel, in the Justice Department opinion to the contrary that is several years old that the Justice Department may rely on. But I think that's a poor judgment constitutionally. The Vacancy Reform Act, which they're making this appointment under, a statute, cannot trump the Constitution. And there's some pretty powerful precedent and language from current members of the Supreme Court that I think indicates strongly that this will be struck down.
Now, when you say they may rely on, right, something that they had done a couple years ago, they were expected, the Justice Department, to issue an opinion today, right, from their Office of Legal Counsel, and it was going to be a defense of this entire thing, Matt Whitaker's appointment. They didn't do that. It didn't come out. It's been delayed until at least tomorrow. Do you read anything into that?
I'm not sure what to read into it. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a debate going on within the Justice Department that, okay, yes, we can rely on a decision we made before, but it looks like the decision we made before has been superseded by what we see in different opinions of the Supreme Court and in the concurring or dissenting opinions, that earlier judgment may now no longer be valid. So that debate may be happening. They may also be trying to figure out what they're going to do about the recusal issue. That is obviously a separate legal question. And in that respect, I think that issue looks far more clear-cut that Whitaker has to recuse himself.
He has made comments before, and I'm going to play those in a moment. But let me just ask you on this, because when it comes to that issue of the Mueller investigation, from what we know, right, we're talking about weeks here, maybe months, right? But the president does plan to appoint to the attorney general position permanently. So if that's the end game, why do you care so much about Whitaker in these next few weeks or months? Do you think something so dramatic could happen in that time?
Well, I do. It's entirely possible that Whitaker takes action to interfere with Mueller, to hobble the investigation, tells Mueller essentially you cannot look into this issue, or if Mueller is ready to issue a report within the next couple months, that Whitaker may make the judgment that report will not be sent to Congress or it will not be made public. So those are obviously key decisions. But also Whitaker could serve as a back channel to Trump and his lawyers in a way that no matter who fills that job later, you can't undo the damage that is done by compromising the investigation.
Okay. All right. So that's a point of permanent damage that you're making. But look, you want Whitaker to recuse himself from the Mueller investigation at least. And you mentioned things he said. So let me just, familiarize our viewers with some of those things that Whitaker has said about Mueller. Here he is.
There's no evidence of anything illegal happening in the 2016 election related to the Trump campaign and the Russian government or their associates. An effort by Jim Comey to get this put in place and have somebody that he's very familiar with, and Bob Mueller, conduct the investigation. So I don't, I think it smells a little fishy.
Why don't these folks hurry up? I mean, it is not helping this administration.
I mean, look, he doesn't like the investigation. He's made it clear, but the Republican chairman on the Senate side of the investigation, Richard Burr, known for being measured, running a respected and thorough investigation, just said this afternoon, Congressman, quote, "I didn't have any concerns with Sessions or Whitaker." So he's saying he's fine with that. I mean, do you really think Whitaker, especially given that he said those things, would have the nerve to try to end the Mueller investigation?
Well, look, Whitaker made it plain that he was taking this gig as a commentator for the express purpose of auditioning for the president. And it looks like it had its intended effect, that he was chosen specifically as basically what the president said he wanted, which was his own Roy Cohn in the Justice Department. And even if he's replaced later, that replacement has to go through Senate confirmation, where you can exact pledges not to interfere. You can determine whether they made commitments or promises to the president about how they'd handle the investigation before taking the job. Obviously, that can't be done at this point with Whitaker. In terms of comments from Senator Burr, I have a lot of respect for. Frankly, the only one we have seen with any consistent willingness to stand up to the president was John McCain, and we lost him. Terrible to lose him, but a terrible time to lose him also, because he had the stature to stand up to this president. I have no doubt that if a Democratic president were putting someone in place that had made comments like that about an investigation in which that Democratic president may be implicated, the Republican chairs would be screaming to the rafters right now, and they should.
Yeah, I'm sure they would be. I think if they were honest about that, they would admit that's true. I want to ask you one question, Congressman, about our other top story tonight before we go. Melania Trump. Right. So apparently she's asked her husband, she doesn't like the Deputy National Security Advisor, Mueller. That Deputy National Security Advisor appears with him today. Moments later, this unprecedented statement comes out that she's unfit to serve the country of the United States from the First Lady about Mueller. What do you make of this?
Well, that's a pretty rare step for a First Lady to make a public statement that somebody needs to get fired. Clearly, there's some bad blood there. But I do think it's indicative of the fact that Sessions may have been the first head to roll, but there are other heads that are on the chopping block. And what's more, the First Family takes this job very personally. You're either with the Trumps or you're against them. And if you're against them, it doesn't matter, what your record is. It doesn't matter whether you're looking out for the interests of the country. As in the case of Russia, Sessions actually was doing his job, and he was following the ethics rules. The president certainly is only about the president. But it was surprising to see the First Lady also weigh in on a personnel matter to this degree.
As you say, an unprecedented moment to see that.